What's up everybody, Johnnie Omega here, giving you my review of Glass. This movie was written and directed by M. Night Shyamalan and stars Bruce Willis, Samuel Jackson, and James McAvoy. This is the concluding chapter in the trilogy that started back in 2000 with Unbreakable and continued in 2016 with Split. Now I purposely waited to review this movie because the best way to talk about it is with spoilers. Doing it any other way I'd have to be extremely vague. So if you haven't seen the movie, this is your official spoiler warning. So add this video to your watch later list and then come back when you've seen the movie. Now, Unbreakable was a good movie, and Split was absolutely great, so the trajectory for this trilogy was definitely going in the right direction. I had extremely high hopes for this movie, and even though we didn't get the M. Night Shyamalan that directed The Last Airbender, we definitely didn't get the M. Night Shyamalan that directed The Sixth Sense. And as a director that's notoriously known for making movies that are either really good or really bad, he picked the worst time to make a movie that people are split over. That pun was not intended, but it's very applicable. The first act of this movie was great, and catching up with Bruce Willis and his character and seeing what he's been doing with his powers was a cool thing to see. And another thing I liked about the movie is I liked revisiting all the characters portrayed by James McAvoy too. You may question James McAvoy's role choices, but you absolutely can't question his ability as an actor. But getting back to the narrative of the movie, I probably should have known something was wrong when David Dunn's character and the Beast got into it so early. It's something I didn't expect to the end of the movie, but I was so into it I really didn't care. And then those lights came on and Sarah Paulson's character came in. It was at that exact moment where the movie started to go downhill. And what's crazy is that as a movie progresses, it wasn't a drastic drop. It was like a gradual change where each scene just wasn't as good as the one before it. There were a couple of scenes where it ticked back up, but then it came back down. It's almost like there was a concerted effort to purposely give the fans what they wanted at the beginning of the movie because they knew once Elijah came into the movie, the pacing was going to slow down. But this is where the divide in the fans are, because if you're a big fan of Unbreakable and that slow psychological thriller aspect of it, then you're going to love the second act of this movie. I didn't dislike it, but my expectation of what I thought the movie was going to be wasn't that. What I pretty much expected the movie to be was what the pacing was in the first act, but the tonal shift was so drastic that it almost felt like two different movies. When you look at the movie, it's like the breakdown was David Dunn's character was the primary focus of the first act, Elijah was the primary focus of the second act. It had a little bit of the horde mixed in everywhere to kind of connect everything, all leading to a climactic third act. And I'm sure that's what Shyamalan was going for, because on paper that seems like a very good idea, but the execution of it just didn't work. And when Elijah finally does show up in the movie, at some point you can't help but wonder why he's not doing much. I mean, he's the title character, he's prominent in the trailers, but when he finally does show up in the movie, all he does pretty much is just sit in his wheelchair. To the writer's credit, it does all make sense when you find out that Elijah's doing this to plan out his escape, but as you're watching the movie, it just doesn't make sense. Then you get into the third act, where your overall impression of the movie pretty much hinges on what you thought about the ending. I can't speak for everybody, but from my personal experience, my interest level of the third act was really up and down. Okay, alright, we're about to go to the skyscraper now for the final battle. If they fighting here, I don't think they're gonna make it to the tower. Well, there goes the Shyamalan twist. Oh, what's going on with the clovers? That's gotta mean something. Yo, a puddle of water. Is this really the best you can come up with? Elijah was thinking ahead, mastermind style. So this is what they're gonna do with the video? That's it? Yo, it just seemed lazy. The premise that this entire trilogy is basically an origin story for people with powers? Okay, I could buy that. Seems like a good idea. I'm even okay with the fact that M. Night Shyamalan killed his three main characters, but the way David Dunn died not only was stupid, it just didn't make any sense. So you're telling me he could be fighting the Beast, be completely submerged underwater and get out of that, but he can't get up when somebody's holding his face down in a puddle of water. Shyamalan said that when he made Unbreakable back in 2000, he always originally planned for it to be a trilogy, so with 19 years to plan for this, you definitely should have had a better ending. When you don't stick the third act of the third movie, it doesn't take away from the other movies, but it definitely compromises the trilogy as a whole. So in conclusion, the acting by everybody was good, especially James McAvoy, easily the best performance of the year so far. The story as a whole had a whole lot of ups and downs, but being objective, I can honestly admit that the movie in itself isn't bad. My expectations of the movie were just way too high. It's definitely more of a disappointment than it is a bad movie, because the movie could have been so much better than it was. All that being said, since I didn't actually dislike the movie, if you've seen Unbreakable and you've seen Split, this movie is definitely worth a watch. So comment below and let me know what you guys thought of the movie, and also, what's your favorite movie of the Israel 177 trilogy? To me, not even a question. Gotta go with Split. Thanks for watching, and if you haven't already, hit that subscribe button below to see what we got coming next.